Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Hi, I am Monica Jacobe, His Life Pampanga Catalyst. I was still mourning from a loss of a dear student who was very close to me and was like a daughter to me when I had another unexpected situation. I saw my nanay lying on the floor. She lost her balance, fell, and hit a corner of a clothing rack. This is enough for her to feel dizzy and unable to stand up. So I helped her up, checked on her, and thought that everything was just okay. Until later that night, she grabbed my arm and she was shouting in pain, telling her that she has a blurred vision and head and neck pain. And when I checked her BP, it was over 200 already. We found out later after 2 hospital visits and a CT scan that she has a blood clot in her head. So she was admitted immediately that very day. She was monitored for 24 hours before they decide if she needs to go to the ICU or in worst case, an operation. Knowing she's 75 and has a high possibility of needing a surgery or being admitted to the ICU made us really anxious. I remember that very night while she's still sleeping, I prayed and cried out to God in pain beside her hospital bed, telling God that I was weak and tired from all the sleepless nights, both before and now. And yet here I am again needing to fight for the next round. This time for my nanay, who is very close to my heart. I felt the fear and anxiousness of being in the hospital again for 3 consecutive times around that particular week. I had a very heavy and tiring week, both physically and emotionally. Until God found me and I came across this verse in Hebrews 11, chapter 11, verse 8 to 9. It was by faith that Abraham obeyed God when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith. For he was like a foreigner living in tents. And so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same promise. Abraham obeyed God. He accepted everything that God wanted him to do, even if he didn't know where he would be going. And even when Abraham received Isaac, he was able to surrender Isaac because he knew he had nothing in the very first place. It was easier for him to surrender Isaac because he knew that everything that he had came from God. And God can do whatever He likes. I was crying that time. I was pleading and bargaining to God. But eventually, I surrendered at the end. Having faith in the Lord, I surrendered to Him all the outcome and the results. I acknowledge that we never owned anything and don't have control of everything. I let go and let God do His thing, and I surrendered my nanay to Him. I then felt the peace and security in my heart that very night. Lo and behold, the next day, May 30, 2020, a miracle happened. She's responding to the meds quite fast, and I saw the look on the faces of the nurses and doctors. And we were told that she doesn't need to go to the ICU anymore and no surgery needed. She just needed to stay a day, then she can be discharged since the meds will be enough for her to dissolve the blood clot in her head. Comparing the situation before and the situation the day after, what happened to Nanay is a miracle. It's been a year now since that happened and there is no trace of a head injury. It was as if nothing happened. It was a roller coaster kind of a week, but God will always be sufficient and more than enough to supply all our needs, be it strength, faith, or healing. He wanted us to trust Him all the more and to surrender to Him all the results. To God be all the glory.